And now, hidden from sight for over 2 millennia, ancient steps have been unveiled at the renowned ancient pool of Siloam in Jerusalem.
Evacuate now!
It's a race against time.
Move now! Leave your stuff! Go!
In Jerusalem, bright lights are shining in the sky, brighter than the sun itself, and horrible noises are shocking Israelis. You see, huge groups of locusts have invaded the area and are making it dark during the day, just like the old stories from the Bible. Just now, a bright light hit the dome of the rock and then disappeared, leaving everyone wondering what is going on while an exodus of Christians is happening at an alarming rate. What could be causing all this fear? Stay with us, because the Antichrist is ready to come back. Day turns to night with locusts in Jerusalem. This wave of strange events has shattered the once calm and steady life of this historic city. The familiar peace has been replaced with a tangible dread. A collective chill seems to travel through the community, raising numerous questions. What is the cause of this sudden turmoil? How will it affect the everyday lives of the people who live in Jerusalem? Driven by these urgent inquiries, people are drawn toward the heart of the city, hoping to find some answers and regain a sense of normalcy. Recently, an extraordinary occurrence added to the intrigue. A brilliant beam of light was seen descending onto the iconic outline of the Dome of the Rock. This remarkable scene was captured on video and quickly spread across various social media platforms, attracting wide attention. The light made a dramatic withdrawal, soaring back into the sky. This event was set against the backdrop of the Western Wall, where the soft murmur of centuries-old prayers blends with the rich historical array of the area, creating an atmosphere heavy with spiritual significance. Claims of a holy visitation accompanied this remarkable occurrence. None other than Jesus Christ, the Archangel Michael, and a group of heavenly figures are said to have chosen this moment to appear. This event, in a city where old meets new at every turn, adds significant depth to every stone and street corner, enhancing the city's complex historical and spiritual landscape. The community's response has varied widely. Some view these phenomena with deep reverence, seeing them as a reaffirmation of their faith. Others approach with skepticism, wary of interpreting these signs too hastily. Academics and religious scholars have also taken an interest, attempting to analyze the events through theological and historical lenses. The ongoing debate among these groups fills the air with a mix of scholarly discourse and spiritual pondering, adding yet another layer to the city's rich cultural dialogue. Meanwhile, life continues amidst these uncertainties. The markets still buzz with the voices of traders, and the streets are filled with tourists and pilgrims, all drawn by the city's enduring appeal. Yet there's no denying that the recent events have left a mark on Jerusalem's atmosphere. Conversations are often punctuated by references to the light and the sounds, with people exchanging theories and interpretations, each trying to make sense of the unusual happenings. As the community grapples with these events, the impact is felt on every level, from daily routines to the broader economic and social environment of Jerusalem. Business owners, tour guides, and local authorities find themselves having to adapt to the increased curiosity and concern from the public, ensuring that the city remains a welcoming place for all visitors. Interestingly, the recent celestial events in Jerusalem are not a new phenomenon. For several years, specifically since 2016, similar events have been reported every year up to 2023. These incidents, which occur regardless of whether it's day or night, seem to indicate a recurring pattern of divine appearances. These events are marked by beams of light that slice through the ordinary day-to-day scenes to illuminate the sacred land of Israel. At the same time, the area has been experiencing a series of strange and unusual sounds, loud booms and vibrations that have confused even the police and military officials. These noises have originated from different places within the country, from Gulshan to Tel Aviv. The nature of these sounds, which are new and unnerving, creates a feeling of fear. They are often described as deep, metallic, and somewhat musical, mixed with unclear voices. This combination contributes to a feeling of fright and unease that hangs over the atmosphere. It's unclear whether these are simply odd natural events, or if they signify something more dire. Some people have looked to religious texts, comparing these sounds to the apocalyptic warnings of trumpets in biblical prophecies, suggesting that they might signal the approach of the end of the world. As Jerusalem finds itself at a meeting point between its ancient past and the challenging conditions of the present, these strange occurrences provoke both wonder and scholarly interest, as does the discussion about what these events might mean. This adds yet another intricate and somewhat troubling chapter to the rich history of the Holy Land. People in Jerusalem and beyond continue to observe these unusual events with a mix of reverence and concern. The city, always a hub of spiritual and historical significance, attracts scholars, religious leaders, and the curious, all eager to witness and interpret these phenomena. Discussions and theories about the nature and implications of the lights and sounds are widespread, spanning from cafes to universities, intertwining the city's daily life with these extraordinary events. Next, let's see how these strange events are part of a bigger story that might be tied to ancient prophecies. Jerusalem's history fuels today's struggles. In the book of Revelation, an angel with a golden censer stands at the altar, ready to mix a vast amount of incense with the prayers of all the saints, painting a scene rich with apocalyptic imagery. However, moving away from these scriptural scenes, the reality in Israel today is starkly different, especially under the harsh sun of its desert climate during the peak summer months. Here, locust invasions are more of a predictable environmental hassle than the plagues of biblical lore, especially prevalent in the southern regions, where the warm climate speeds up their breeding, leading to overwhelming swarms. These locust issues might not come as a surprise to those who keep an eye on environmental changes in the area. The reduced flow of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers indicates wider ecological problems, triggering a chain reaction of water shortages that exacerbate the already strained political relations among neighboring countries like Syria and Iraq, which could lead to conflicts that might spill over into Israel's territory and challenge its security measures. Furthermore, the threat of water scarcity is serious, potentially causing people to flee their homes and leading to a refugee crisis. Israel, already navigating a complex maze of regional political challenges, might find itself having to either open its borders to refugees or provide humanitarian aid. Against this backdrop, Jerusalem often appears as a constant target in distress, its strategic and historically fortified position belying a history filled with turmoil. Jerusalem remains under the watchful eyes of global powers, its importance making it a prime target for exploitation or territorial claims. The ongoing struggle for control of Jerusalem isn't just driven by current political agendas, but also by a long-standing appeal that resonates with followers of multiple faiths around the world. Anyone standing by the ancient Western Wall might wonder about the deep-rooted causes of the endless disputes over this city. The city of Jerusalem has been a center of contention and desire for thousands of years, luring conquerors, pilgrims, and historians alike. It's a place where every stone tells a story of ancient beginnings, religious fervor, and the ceaseless march of armies. Through the centuries, this city has been the heart of numerous battles, negotiations, and prayers, representing a unique intersection of history, religion, and culture that continues to attract attention and stir controversy. This relentless interest in Jerusalem is not only due to its religious significance, but also because of its symbolic representation of divine presence for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. This tri-religious claim to the city adds layers of complexity to its political landscape, making it a focal point for both devotion and diplomacy. The importance of Jerusalem lies not only in its past, but in its ongoing role in shaping international relationships and religious dialogues. It might be somewhat obvious, considering Jerusalem's special status as the only city recognized as sacred by the three major religions that believe in one God. For Jews, the holiness of this land goes back before they even lived there, tied to the promises given to Abraham and Moses by God. The building of the temple and placing the Ark of the Covenant there by King David were just acts of honoring these age-old promises. Christians also deeply respect the city, because it is where Jesus suffered, died, and was resurrected, which has made Jerusalem a key destination for religious visits since the 4th century at least. This intense reverence led the Crusaders, spurred on by Pope Urban II's call to arms in 1099, to take Jerusalem back from Muslim control. However, Despite the strong historical claims by both Jews and Christians, it's important to remember that Muslims have mostly controlled Jerusalem for over 13 centuries. This lengthy period of Muslim governance is often overlooked in Western stories, but it plays a crucial role in understanding the rich, intertwined layers of both sacred and worldly history that shape the city. The blending of deep religious beliefs, historical events, and political maneuvering makes Jerusalem more than just a stage for global conflicts. It's also a center for spiritual hopes, a place where people believe the heavenly connection with the earthly. However, as lofty as that sounds, the everyday management of such a contested city involves much more mundane and practical issues. Leaders must deal with security, diplomatic relations, and basic survival in a place where history isn't just something you read about in books. It's a vivid part of everyday life that continues to influence current events. Every day in Jerusalem, the past and present collide, making it a unique city where ancient religious texts and modern politics meet. This ongoing interaction shapes every aspect of life in Jerusalem, from how people worship to how they interact with each other. The city's importance to Jews, Christians, and Muslims adds layers of complexity to its governance, often turning local issues into international headlines. In 1917, under the guise of liberation, the British Empire took control of Jerusalem from the Ottoman Turks. For Muslims, Jerusalem is known as Al-Quds, the sacred, and is immensely important both as the original direction of prayer and the third holiest city in Islam. This isn't just a piece of history, it's a fact that continues to influence the complex political dynamics of the region today. As history unfolds, one can't ignore the resemblance between modern global conflicts and the biblical predictions of Christ's second coming. These ancient prophecies foretold wars, leading to widespread famine and disease, forming a cycle of suffering that seems to be mirrored in today's international crises. While it might not be a direct enactment of these prophecies, the similarities in our current events are strikingly disturbing. In warfare, the distinction between the strong and the weak becomes overly pronounced. Once fighting starts, the initial concepts of right and wrong quickly give way to deceit and exploitation. Leaders who push for war and revolutions often create chaos, echoing the type of worldwide strife that Jesus warned about, a scenario where countries and empires collide with severe repercussions. The devastation of the two world wars illustrates this grim reality. The First World War resulted in over 31.5 million deaths, and the Second World War was even more deadly, with 52 million lives lost. These numbers don't even touch on the countless others affected by various other conflicts throughout the 20th century. Notably, during the Second World War, the systematic extermination of over 6 million Jews by the Nazis not only was a horrific tragedy, but also led to a significant return of Jews to their ancestral homeland of Israel. Since becoming an independent state in 1948, Israel has faced numerous wars, each a decade apart, illustrating a constant state of conflict. This pattern of conflict isn't just limited to Israel. The teachings of Jesus hint at worldwide upheaval, but Israel's frequent battles and ongoing tensions over sacred sites like the Temple Mount offer a concentrated glimpse of these global issues. For example, in 2000, Ariel Sharon's visit to the Temple Mount, which remains under Muslim control despite Israel's governance of Jerusalem since 1967, sparked the Second Intifada. This major Palestinian uprising was partially blamed on Sharon's actions, but also linked to wider frustrations from failed peace negotiations. Now, let's explore how different cultures interpret these global signs and what it means for everyone. The final trumpets sound, Earth awaits its darkest fate. The concept of revolution is now a global phenomenon, signaling deep dissatisfaction and widespread change across nations, increasingly evident in our connected world. The term revolution itself, rooted in Greek, implies a fundamental shift or transformation in societal norms, which can be both destructive and regenerative. The ancient Greek word atos represents a state of fixed or established conditions, but it carries a darker undertone when linked to chaos, unrest, and especially political and social revolutions. Today, we find ourselves trapped in a time where the upheaval against the standard political framework doesn't seem merely coincidental, but rather precisely choreographed. The world stage is meticulously arranged, the players are strategically positioned, and the script is dense with chaos, fear, civil unrest, and political turmoil. Such circumstances might conveniently serve those in power, smoothing the path for a single leader to emerge and rule under the guise of a unified global government. A scenario as biblically foreboding as it is reminiscent of a dystopian nightmare. The Gospels, according to Luke and Matthew, presciently touched on this theme. They foretold natural disasters, widespread hunger, and diseases afflicting humanity, accompanied by terrifying events and signs from the sky. This narrative seems almost tailor-made for the crises we witness globally today, mirroring the metaphorical birth pains that signal escalating conflicts and looming catastrophes. Consider the cyclical nature of famine depicted in the biblical story of Egypt under Joseph's management. After 7 years of abundant harvests came 7 years of severe drought, forcing the people to deplete their wealth, trade their livestock, surrender their lands, and eventually their freedom, all in exchange for food. This story paints a stark picture of power dynamics and dependency, where survival depended on submitting to a central authority, mirroring Joseph's strategic, though severe, management approach that transformed free citizens into subjects grateful to be serfs under Pharaoh. Jump to the present and consider Klaus Schwab, the chairman of the World Economic Forum, who annually convenes global influencers in Davos to deliberate on global economic and social policies. In his book, The Great Reset, Schwab envisions a future by 2030 where people, stripped of personal possessions, will supposedly find happiness. This scenario starkly echoes the Egyptian experience, hinting at a future where people might once again exchange their freedoms for the promise of security or sustenance, manipulated by those orchestrating global economic trends. This scenario isn't mere speculative fiction. It's a pointed critique of the power structures that cyclically dominate our history. The notion that today's global leaders could manufacture crises to consolidate their power and control resources isn't just a cynical view, but a reflection of a recurring pattern where the elite position themselves as saviors, much like the pharaohs of old, guiding the helpless masses through contrived calamities. The biblical references to nations clashing, the strategic manipulation of essential resources to control populations, and the prospect of widespread subjugation under a singular ruler now seem less prophetic and more like a strategic manual for those in power. This raises a critical question. Are we unknowingly acting out a script written by shadowy figures, setting up a new global order under the pretense of managing crises? According to some, God is actively shaping his grand plan, guiding certain people toward what is described as a magnificent victory. This idea is reminiscent of the biblical story of the Exodus, where Israel was saved from slavery by a powerful leader. In the Bible, the books of Luke and Revelation describe dramatic events like famines, widespread diseases, and unusual cosmic signs that some believe are warnings of Christ's return, events that strangely mirror some of today's global issues. While it's not certain whether the current global crises are exactly what Luke was referring to, these events might be seen as signals from above, urging us to look beyond our mortal lives and prepare for the return of our King. The word pestilence comes from the Greek word leos, which means a deadly, expansive disease. Matthew expands on this idea by likening these disasters to the painful contractions a woman feels before giving birth. He predicts that nations will go to war, earthquakes will shake the earth, and famine will be widespread, all setting the stage for the end times, as foretold in the Bible. Today, many believe we are experiencing these prophecies firsthand, as we see the growing number of messianic believers in Israel, which some interpret as a sign that Christ's return is imminent. This is a thrilling prospect for those who interpret these growing communities as the fulfillment of divine promises. For those looking for more signs, the mystical trumpets of Revelation resonate deeply, serving as auditory symbols of the approaching end of the world. In the narrative of Revelation, these trumpets signal more than just sound. They announce significant divine actions that will reshape the world through major natural disasters and the fall of powerful nations. The first 4 trumpets criticize human pride by bringing destruction to the earth, turning waters bitter, and darkening the skies, showcasing our vulnerability and the overwhelming power of the Creator. However, it is the last 3 trumpets, ominously known as the woes, that really draw focus. They represent physical catastrophes and spiritual awakenings, revealing the harsh truths about human morality and the impending divine judgment. The fifth trumpet, for example, brings forth creatures resembling locusts from the abyss that torment people's souls as a punishment for straying from moral paths. The sixth trumpet releases forces that eliminate a third of humanity, reflecting on the severe consequences of war and conflict. In the core of the Book of Revelation's message, there isn't a focus on despair, but rather on the opportunity for redemption, emphasizing a call for deep reflection and change before the climactic event of the final trumpet. As the story moves towards this last trumpet sound, the feeling of anticipation among Christians grows stronger. This isn't just another part of the story. It represents a pivotal moment in history, announcing that the rule of the world has shifted to divine governance meant to last forever. This moment is depicted as a victorious trumpet sound, marking the ultimate triumph of good over evil and the celebration of divine rule above all else. The powerful trumpet sounds throughout Revelation are not just dramatic events. They represent a deep spiritual trip. They call on every follower to start a path of significant personal and spiritual growth, marked by faith, genuine repentance, and meaningful change. Each trumpet sound serves as a reminder of how temporary life is and the eternal existence that lies beyond what we see and know. For believers in Christianity, the apocalyptic scenes described in Revelation go beyond just old writings or abstract religious theory. They are active, living parts of their faith. They remind believers of the covenant between God and humanity, which promises a completely new kind of existence. These apocalyptic warnings are designed to create a sense of urgency, pushing followers to align their lives with God's commands and to remain vigilant and committed as they await the return of Christ. Let's think about what these heavenly messages might be trying to tell us. Are the horrible sounds of 2024 prophetic? When we delve deeper into the significance of these trumpet sounds in the Bible, we're invited not to just watch from the sidelines, but to actively participate in a story that's still unfolding. This narrative challenges us to examine our own lives, our actions, and our connection to the divine. Through the symbolism of the trumpet, we gain a deeper insight into the apocalypse, which is seen not just as an end, but as the doorway to a new beginning, an opportunity to see everything made new under the rule of Christ. Delving into the themes of the end times as depicted in the Bible draws us into the powerful, sometimes unsettling sounds that move from the ancient scriptures to our modern reality, echoing from the old walls of Jerusalem to every corner of the world. There is a chilling connection between the heavenly sounds and the ominous trumpet calls described in the Book of Revelation. Particularly striking is the sixth trumpet. Its blast is not just a sound. It signifies widespread chaos and ushers in an angel, adding a profound spiritual layer that reverberates through history and prophecy. In the chapters of Revelation from 9 to 13 through 21, the sixth trumpet marks a critical moment in the story of the end times. When this trumpet sounds, it releases forces from the great river Euphrates, destined to destroy a third of humanity. This is not just a minor signal. It's a loud announcement of the severe consequences of human strife and the deep judgments from above. This trumpet call challenges our control over the planet and probes the core of our ethics and our readiness to confront the outcomes of our shared decisions. Thus, the apocalyptic story in Revelation, with its sequence of 7 trumpets, invites us to contemplate the wider meanings of our existence and our readiness to participate in the unfolding divine plan. This story is rich with symbols, encouraging us to think beyond just the end of the world to the opportunities for new beginnings, a spiritual renewal under the total rule of a divine authority. Whether interpreted as actual divine prophecy or as symbolic imagery, the challenge to examine our lives and our environment is a crucial element of this religious study. Exploring this narrative urges us to face not only the potential destruction, but also the chance for regeneration and profound change. It calls on us to assess our spiritual health and ethical bearings as we consider the significant changes these biblical prophecies suggest. This portrayal serves as a stark warning about the chaos and destruction that might result from humanity's careless decisions. The sudden appearance of an angel introduces a divine element, hinting that perhaps heavenly forces play a greater role in the fate of our world than we might imagine. The sound of the sixth trumpet is particularly significant. It's a forewarning of serious upheaval, pushing us to think beyond our immediate concerns and reflect on the broader existential implications of our behavior. These trumpet blasts challenge us. Are we as humans and as caretakers of our planet truly listening to the cautions laid out in our sacred texts? As the year 2024 approaches, bringing with it a series of unexplained sounds from the heavens, those who interpret these events through the lens of biblical prophecy are filled with a growing sense of anticipation. To some, these sounds seem to confirm the apocalyptic warnings described in the book of Revelation. Are these the very sounds foretold thousands of years ago, now occurring to signal the impending end of days? This question deeply engages those of faith, prompting broad reflection on our role in the grand scheme of the universe. Consider the time when these prophecies were penned. The authors of the Bible, believing themselves to be inspired by divine guidance, were addressing not just their peers, but generations to come. Today, the detailed scriptural descriptions of heavenly trumpets eerily reflect the cryptic sounds being reported worldwide, a correlation too compelling for many to regard as mere coincidence. In this setting, the events of 2024 transcend mere scientific inquiry. They become a context for spiritual discourse. Around the globe, religious communities, whether in churches, synagogues, mosques, or temples, are engaged in vigorous discussions and sermons, interpreting these sounds as divine signs that call for reflection, repentance, and readiness. Amid this spiritual awakening, a more critical perspective might question the very nature of the Book of Revelation. Known for its dense symbolism, the book aims to convey deeper truths that go beyond simple literal interpretation. Therefore, the trumpets might represent broader spiritual or ethical calls to humanity, not just physical sounds to be analyzed scientifically. Theologians point out that the Christian view of the apocalypse is not solely about world-ending destruction. It also encompasses ideas of purification and the beginning of a new, divinely led era. Now let's reflect on what these signs mean for our spiritual trip and place in the world. Strange noises from the sky, divine or not. Thus, the celestial events of 2024 could be interpreted not as portents of imminent disaster, but as reminders of humanity's ongoing spiritual trip, a call to awaken to deeper truths and higher moral standards. As we explore these biblical interpretations of the cryptic sounds, we find ourselves at a crossroads between faith and observable reality, between ancient prophecy and modern phenomena. The resulting discussions are rich and varied, reflecting the diverse ways people seek to understand the puzzles of existence. The sounds of 2024 inspire a collective examination of what it means to live in a world where the divine and the everyday are closely linked. This dialogue between ancient texts and current events presents a unique chance to reconsider our values and the essence of our existence in a universe where the boundaries between the heavenly and the earthly might not be as clear-cut as they seem. As we navigate the intricate array of biblical prophecy and the cryptic symphonies echoing across our skies today, it's hard not to feel a deep connection to the past. These sounds reverberating through the ages aren't just curiosities. Many see them as divine messages, warnings, guidance, and sometimes rebukes aimed at humanity. As Christians, we're urged not just to hear these sounds, but to listen deeply with our hearts. What divine message might be transmitted through these heavenly signals? Thinking about the times in the Bible when God used nature to speak, like the burning bush, the parting of the Red Sea, or Elijah hearing a still, small voice, it's intriguing to consider whether today's unexplained celestial sounds might be the modern equivalents of these ancient divine signs. Are these sounds a cosmic prompt to look up and refocus our spiritual energies? Amidst the confusion these sounds create, where do we turn for stability and assurance? The Bible tells us that God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of need. Even when everything around us seems unstable, this promise is unwavering. But beyond just offering comfort, how has your faith been a sanctuary for you during these unsettling times? Discussions about these enigmatic sounds often veer into fear, curiosity, and end-of-the-world scenarios. However, what if we chose to view them not as signs of impending catastrophe, but as reminders of God's ultimate control and the promise of His eternal reign? What if these uncertainties are a chance to deepen our faith, encouraging us to live every day with a perspective shaped by eternity? How do these sounds challenge us to demonstrate our faith in real and meaningful ways, especially in a society often riven by fear and misunderstanding. Could our response to these cryptic noises stand as proof of the hope we find in Christ? Every time an unexpected sound ripples through our atmosphere, spiritual pundits and prophetic enthusiasts are quick to interpret these as divine messages, urging us to show love, provide comfort, and bring peace to those around us. As you think about these lofty calls to action, also reflect on the community of believers around you. In these uncertain times, we are often reminded about the importance of fellowship, of sticking together through faith. However, it's worth questioning how we can genuinely support each other, foster growth, and seek wisdom without getting swept up in the collective panic that often follows the unknown. These times are often described as moments for prayer, for seeking divine guidance and discernment to navigate the complexities of these events with faith that is said to be vibrant and unwavering. As we look to the skies and bow our hearts in reverence, the narrative encourages us not only to seek answers, but to deepen our connection with the Creator of the universe. The sounds are portrayed not just as noises, but as catalysts for spiritual growth, opportunities to engage more deeply with religious texts, strengthen our personal faith, and live with a renewed sense of purpose. We are often told to be recognized for our faith, our love, and our unwavering trust in a deity believed to control the future. Throughout this trip of reflection and discovery, you are reminded that you are not alone. You are part of a worldwide network of believers, each engaged in, reflecting on, and trying to interpret the divine messages purportedly hidden in these occurrences. Are the cryptic sounds across the globe merely atmospheric anomalies, or could they be divine signals meant to prepare us for the end times? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.